Westeros has always been a graveyard of what-ifs, a realm where history is written in the blood of the righteous and the dirt of the forgotten. But In the Name of the Mother didn't just give us another tragedy, it trapped us inside one. From the very first frame, the air feels heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and wet iron, because this isn't just a story about a trial. It is a sensory assault, a calculated psychological trap designed to make you feel the exact, bone-snapping moment the history of the Seven Kingdoms fractured forever. The brilliance begins not with a sword, but with a memory. The show pulls us away from the impending slaughter and drags us back into the grey, suffocating filth of Flea Bottom. We see a young, starving Dunk, a boy who owns nothing but his own breath, learning the only rule that matters in the dark. You get up. The cinematography here is frantic, handheld and anxious. Every shadow feels like a predator. This flashback serves as our emotional anchor. It forces the viewer to realize that as Dunk stands on that field, he isn't fighting for a golden crown or a singer's ballad. He is fighting because he is a palooka from the gutters who simply doesn't know how to stay down. The show winds us up like a clock spring in these scenes, building a reservoir of stress so that when we finally return to the present, the stakes aren't just political, they are primal. Then the visor drops, the world disappears, and the true nightmare begins. The direction here is revolutionary because it chooses to blind the audience. We are forced to witness the trial of seven through the narrow, rusted slit of Dunk's helmet. You can feel the claustrophobia crawling up your throat as the camera stays locked on his eyes, wide, wet, and terrified. The sound design takes over where his vision fails. One moment, the world is a muffled underwater void where the only thing you can hear is the rhythmic, ragged scraping of Dunk's own breath against the metal. It's intimate. It's lonely. And then the transition hits. A mace strikes a shield with a bone-shaking metallic crack that doesn't just ring, it vibrates in your teeth. The audio landscape becomes a violent pendulum. It swings from the deafening, bloodthirsty roar of a crowd that wants to see a prince die to a sudden, piercing, high-pitched whine that signals a concussion. You hear the echoes of screams that sound miles away, ghosts of voices calling Dunk's name, even as the literal thunder of charging hooves vibrates through the mud beneath him. You don't see the horse, you only hear the weight of it. It creates a state of pure panic, a sensory overload that makes your own heart race in sync with the man on the screen. The back half of this episode is a masterclass in emotional manipulation. After 40 minutes of terror, the show gives you a gift. The sun finally breaks through the grey clouds, bathing the field in a deceptive, golden warmth. The Night of the Seven Kingdoms theme swells into a triumphant, soaring roar as Dunk forces Prince Aerion to yield. You feel that sudden, dizzying rush of dopamine, the sheer, unadulterated joy of thinking that the underdog actually won. You see Baelor Breakspear Targaryen standing over him, the embodiment of everything a king should be: noble, steady, and alive. For 30 seconds, you are allowed to be happy, but the silence that follows is the loudest sound in the history of this franchise. When Baelor's helmet is finally pried away, and the heavy thud of steel hitting the grass echoes across the field, the world stops spinning. The transition from the high of victory to the hollow, soul-crushing realization of what has happened is a total system shock. As Baelor mentions the numbness in his fingers, his voice sounding thin and distant, you realize you are watching the literal light go out of the world. The man who would have been the greatest king in history is spilling his brains into the mud for the sake of a hedge knight. It is a beautiful, miserable paradox. Dunk saved his own life, but in doing so, he accidentally shattered the future of the realm. As the screen fades to a cold, silent black, you aren't just a viewer anymore. You are a witness to the moment the tragedy of the Targaryens became inevitable.